Perfect. Thank you everyone for joining. Then let's get started so we can make the most out of these 40 minutes that we're going to be together. My name is Joanna. I'm the marketing manager at Bookboost, and we host these webinars every month with many of our partners to talk about things that are interesting for hoteliers. Bookboost is the CRM designed for hotels to help hotels handle their guest communication, save time, and personalize the guest experience. And today we are going to talk about guest loyalty and how to use it to boost direct bookings, because everyone is after direct bookings, right? So let's talk about these. And I'm joined by different experts that are gonna help us to uncover some of these secrets. So I'm just gonna introduce them one by one so they can also say hi to you guys. We're having Sirma from TrustYou. Hi Sirma, how are you?
Hello, I'm very excited to be here, Johanna. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you for joining us. Then we also have Fabricio from Oracle. Hi, Fabricio.
Hola. Hello, everyone from Madrid. I'm very excited to be here and to talk about such an amazing topic as loyalty. Thank you.
Perfect, Fabricio. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, we have Dan from Bookboost. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hey, Joanna. Thank you. Great to be here together and great to see so many out of you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you then for joining us. And before we kick the session with the different questions, I want to remind you that you can also ask questions. You can use the Q&A function and then just let us know what you think. If you don't understand something that we are saying or you want more details, then please feel free to drop us a question or a comment in the chat, and we will be reading those to answer them as the topic progresses. And before we start with the questions, let's have a quick poll to understand more about guest loyalty. Let's understand a little bit about the challenges that you are facing in guest loyalty. You can see now the poll in your screens, and the question is, what is your main challenge regarding guest loyalty? And then we have a couple of options. I don't know what are the best KPIs to measure it. Another one, I can measure it, but I don't know how to use it. And the other option, loyalty levels are low at my property and I don't know how to increase them. Let's see what you think. Please take some time to vote. We're going to leave it on for 30 seconds and then we are going to continue with the questions. Let's see. Okay, 20 more seconds. Perfect. Let's then share our results for now. And we can see that we have a tie actually between I don't know what are the best KPIs to measure guest loyalty, and I can measure it, but I don't know how to use it. And the best news, the good news, is that those are two of the topics that we're going to discuss today. So let's jump right into it. And we're going to start with our questions. So the topic of this webinar is 5 ways to use guest loyalty to increase direct bookings. And throughout these 40 minutes, we're going to go through these 5 ways. And the first way, so you can take notes, is actually to use insights from loyal guests and act upon it. And this has to do a lot with the KPIs and how to measure guest loyalty and then how to understand guest loyalty. And we're going to start with the first question. Dan, let's talk a little bit about these insights. What insights from guest data are key to understand guest loyalty? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, thanks, Johanna. And I thought it was very interesting to see the results of the poll, actually, where 39% mentioned that they do not know what metric is most important, and 39% also mentioned that they do know what metrics is most important and are able to measure it, but do not necessarily know how to then use that. And that's actually really the right order to think about it, because if you can analyze guests, if you know where you're going to, so in other words, and if you can set a KPI for that, customer lifetime value is probably a good one, for example, which basically essentially measures revenue per guest, right? That's how you could see it. When you know where to go to, and you can then, in addition to that, analyze guest patterns, guest behaviors, so have control over your data, in other words, and then go from there, because that will give you the fundamentals to then know how to utilize that. And then the next step would be to set up interactions that are in line with that and are in line with what you're trying to achieve and are in line with what you've concluded from analyzing your data. And yeah, there is like tons of things you could be doing, but looking at booking patterns, looking at preferences, past behaviors, and use all that insights to then drive relevant interactions that will be stickier because you can predict and assume that those will be more relevant, which then guests and we as human beings will be more likely to interact on. So that's just in principle a way to look at it. And I'm really happy that we're discussing this topic today, because anything that hoteliers can do to try and gain in terms of loyalty is a win, right? It's a challenge today in today's world with the dominancy of the OTAs and so forth. We all know it. And I think anything that you could be doing, we could see as a opportunity and as a step that gets you closer to your guests and to your community. So I'm really excited and happy to be here also together with Sirma from TrustYou and Fabricio to discuss the topic.
Perfect, Dan. Thank you. And then, so now we start to get a little bit in detail about the information that we should be paying attention to, right? And this information, for example, what you're mentioning, booking preferences or the past purchases, right? Or their behavior. Sometimes we think that we can only use it for marketing purposes, but actually it has a lot to do with guest loyalty. Your data keeps being fundamental when trying to take action. And this data also comes from the reviews. And that's our next question, actually. Sirma, you can tell us a little bit more about, let's focus on guest reviews. Then what information can be used, or what can hoteliers learn from the guest reviews regarding their guest loyalty?
Thank you for this question. Again, it's a real pleasure to be here. Let me start by saying that TrustYou is a big data company. So this is what we do. We collect data from all the sources available out there for 1.2 million hotels all over the world. So we analyze about 7 million reviews, and I will start with the good news. We have calculated our algorithms that 95% actually of the global feedback is positive. We call positive feedback everything above 7. So just for you to know. But can you imagine 95% of the guests that have reviewed positively all the hotels could mean that we have so much opportunities to turn these guests that are giving these reviews into loyal guests. Starting from that, for us in TrustYou, we are always preaching, responding to reviews. So having that much positive reviews in our hotel, it would be great to show appreciation, to show gratitude for all these guests that have left this review, and to respond in a good way, in a quality, personalized way. And that way, we are getting closer and closer to the ultimate goal of turning this customer into loyal. So this is one thing that we could definitely do. But most importantly, we need to listen very carefully. Technology, you mentioned data. We are all about data and also technology, because data would not make that much sense if we don't have the right tools to analyze it and to understand in depth. For example, which are the areas where the hotel is performing extremely good? Which are the areas that needs improvement? This is all coming from the guest reviews, and especially from the guests that are that we missed to meet expectations. We can easily turn them into loyal customers if we really show that we listen. Of course, we can improve the product. We can improve the operations with our guest data. Moreover, we can monitor the competitors. How better are we with our breakfast than the competitors or the whole market? What people say about the room, and does our room needs some improvements? So these are all super important information to also go to the revenue strategies and even to change revenue strategies if we see that certain areas or certain periods are performing very well or not so well as we expect. So many use cases for the guest data. I'm open to questions if you don't understand anything of what I said, because I know that I'm talking too fast. Please feel free to ask me more.
Thank you, Sirma. And the points that you were mentioning about actually paying attention to what you see in your guest reviews, I think it's super important, because sometimes as hoteliers, we can choose to pay attention only to the positive ones, because of course we love the praise. But the moment we start to see the negative comment or the part where like what I didn't like so much, we kind of like block that part. But actually both parts are equally important, because then you understand what they liked and then you can do more of that, but you also understand what they didn't like and you can focus on changing that, right? And then of course, if a guest was very happy with their stay, the review is going to be positive. There you have more chances of turning that guest into a loyal guest, right? We knew that you loved this one, so we would love to have you back. Here is, I don't know, a promo, a code, something. But definitely data keeps being one of our main sources, either from our reservation data or from our reviews data, like we've been discussing.
Exactly, data-driven decisions, one of the main principles in the modern hotelier business right now. If we don't base our decisions on data, we are lost and difficult to be successful in the business way.
Okay, so now we've covered way number 1 of using your guest loyalty to boost your direct bookings, which is get the insights from loyal guests to make changes, to act upon it. Now we're gonna do way number 2. And number 2 is re-engage with your existing customers, both international and local opportunities. And Fabricio, we've seen that most hotels are focused always on attracting new guests, right? Everything is about like the new people that can come. What would be your advice for them to find a balance between re-engaging the old guest and attracting new guests? How can they find a balance there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Joanna. So my first thought is re-engage. When did we actually stop engaging, right? For any business, and especially in hospitality, this should have always been a priority, past, present, and future. No. However, I think it's true. I think we all will agree that most hotels are probably spending most of their focus in capturing new business. Now, think a little bit for a second outside hospitality. I think we will all agree we see the same pattern and the same trend in many businesses also outside hospitality too. So there is a transactional approach that seems to have basically taken over everything around loyalty. And I think, again, if you now zoom back into hospitality industry, it is particularly crucial that we look at this from a different perspective, because hospitality is about happiness. Hospitality is about smiles. It's about people. It's about building connections. So in my personal opinion, even before working in hospitality tech and even before working in hospitality, loyalty is absolutely natural of what we do in this business, right? So with that said, it is absolutely fundamental to define a strategy. And that strategy must come from a number of different things. Basically, your current market situation, what type of objectives do you have, short-term, long-term? So I could have given you a much shorter answer here. And my short answer is you need to find the right balance. And to find the right balance, you need, obviously, the right mix of advice, the right mix of technology. It's relatively similar to yield management. Basically, you are trying to find the right balance for the right time and define the right strategy there. With that said, okay, and I'm sure you all want to hear some numbers here. So it could be perfectly be 50-50. It could perfectly be 80-20. But my key advice is to never, ever neglect that long-term strategy of loyalty, right? Because that's fundamental to differentiate from your competitors, and especially in our industry, to build those connections that are so important for what we do. Thank you.
Definitely. And it's not even something that comes out of, like a feeling or like a thought. It's actually proven that attracting new customers, it costs 5 times more than re-engaging with the customers that have already visited your hotel. Because the truth is that you have so many opportunities. You have so many opportunities to do this re-engagement, right? And we're going to talk now about some specific things and occasions where you can apply this strategy, where you can re-engage. Dan, you can walk us through this. Then re-engagement is a great opportunity. What are some practical ways that hoteliers can do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks both. I think also to Fabrizio's point, like loyalty is a long-term game, so to say, right? And it's by identifying that strategy and then go with practical tactics, really. But also to Fabrizio's point, like it's so natural for us as hoteliers. It's in our blood, and so we're already really good at it. But then if we can start to see it as a concept and play around with it, and in that we have to also measure things to make it insightful and to understand the business value. We can really do ourselves a favor. But Johanna, you brought it up. I have a statistic that I recently read a study about Van Bain & Company, and that researched that by 5% increase in retention, you can become 25 to 95% more profitable, because it's so much cheaper to get the guests to rebook. And I was literally just off a meeting with a hotel group that had a challenge of a gap between them and the guest. And what sometimes occurred was that guests literally from their rooms would extend their stay through OTAs, right? And that's kind of like, in a way, symbolic of where we should try and lower that threshold and sort of get the guests and the hotelier closer connected. Because if that is a relationship that's truly sort of authentic and almost like you're staying with a friend, you wouldn't go to an OTA and book there, but you would want to book directly. So long story short, this can translate into practical tips, because that was your question. But by making sure that you're close to the guests, that you build a community, that you have a brand that has an identity that people either want to belong to, and it's also okay if they do not want to belong to that, because this is where you tie people, or tie, that's probably an aggressive word, but where you create friendships and community and belonging. And that's where you get more increase in direct bookings, but also just practical tips like identify who are your repeat guests, why are they coming back, and then deliver more of that, and deliver exclusive offers to those guests that are repeat guests, and acknowledge them for their loyalty, right? Because that will get them to remain loyal to your brand. So by identifying who that is and what it is that they appreciate, and by keep offering that, and then in addition, you could always do new things, because people will always be evaluating what's out there. And if you can do something interesting each time that people will want to come back to, that also has a positive impact. So there's a lot of things, but not to make that sound overwhelming. It all starts by identifying your data, identifying your guests, try and categorize it, because that is how we cannot, like, that sounds impersonal, but that's just the way to do it from a technology standpoint. And then try and drive like relevant interactions, because that will make people like loyal to your brand and will make them engage with you rather than a third party. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Definitely understanding who they are and what they came in the first place is a great way of finding new ways to engage with them. Like, for example, I know many of our customers are doing like these birthday communications, right? Like, if it's your birthday, who doesn't love a present? Who doesn't love a hey, it's your birthday, come spend it with us. You have the entire month to come and spend a weekend. You have 20% discount, right? How much are you spending actually on attracting that guest? Nothing. You're sending an email, right? But you're offering something valuable, something that resonates with them. So I would say I 100% agree. There are many things that you can do, but you first need to understand who they are, right? Okay, so with that, we've covered way number 1 and number 2, and we're gonna keep moving because we have 5 ways and we're already halfway through our time. So let's jump into way number 3 of using guest loyalty to boost direct bookings. And way number 3 is showcase your reviews in a strategic way. Your reviews are such a valuable asset, and there are hotels that are doing nothing about it. So let's change that. And Sirma, you're gonna guide us through it. So for today's traveler, reviews are fundamental, right, when booking. So how can hotels showcase them to actually leverage them?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Let's start again with some statistics. I love data, I love statistics. So first of all, let me start by saying that 99% of the guests are reading reviews before making a decision to make a booking. It increases with each year. It will reach soon 100, I'm sure. Anyway, and from our statistics, we know that 54% of the reviews are written on the 54% of the reviews of the guests are reading reviews on the website. So as we talk about online presence, the super doorway to the experience, to everything that is going to happen to these guests even before stepping foot in our hotel is all the experience that the website will bring. Also the other platforms, but let's focus on the website because we have most of the control over there. So again, technology helps us to integrate widgets on our website, which are collected with reviews collected from all the platforms available out there. So all the reviews that the hotel can have or the hotel group can have can be compressed with concise summary that will help the guests going to the website and very quickly understand which are the great parts about these hotels. They can see the different badges. They can see different scores that shows how this hotel can help them fulfill their needs of holiday or of accommodation. So these widgets are fantastic because, as I said, they save time and also gives a lot of information. And moreover, these are third-party reviews. So it makes the guests feel it makes the guests feel that information is credible, and it's also unbiased. So it really increased and boost the bookings and the trust in the information on the website. So I highly recommend that.
Definitely. And I think also one thing that I would add is that I've seen that a lot of hotels, they choose to only show the 10 out of 10 reviews. And that sometimes it can be fake. So I think users definitely appreciate when they see, okay, it's a 10 and then a 6 and then a 9 and then another 10, right? Because it gives the impression that it's real instead of like, okay, they paid a robot to write these 10 out of 10 reviews all the time.
Exactly.
If you allow me, I would like to add some couple of comments on this one. No, when I look at reviews, I look at this. I have mixed feelings, no, because I look at this as an hospitality tech person. I look at this as a former hospitality person. I look at this as a traveler. It's basically my key outcome out of this is as providers, obviously, as all the companies that we have here. We can do more. We need to do more. We should absolutely do more. No, and also the fact that we are here together on this call. No, we have a unique opportunity right now with the technology that we have at hand, powerful APIs, open systems. You mentioned that before. No, the power of the OTAs out there. So I definitely think there's an opportunity for better integrations, for finding new powerful outcomes for all of these reviews. And I'm sure that working together with companies like TrustYou, like Bookboost, we are working together on that line. And I'm looking at this like from those different perspectives. Also as a traveler, as someone who is looking at reviews and who would like to give more reviews.
Definitely. And we actually have a question about this. So Sirma, you can help us. You're our review expert today. So do you also show bad reviews and how it was solved by the property? And maybe you can actually share about how the showcasing of reviews has worked for some of the hotels that you guys have worked with.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we are dealing with the negative reviews in a way that what we show in our widgets are concise summaries. As I said, these are summary sentences that just summarizes what thousands of guests and thousands of reviews have said about a certain category. And we always advise our clients to first analyze and work on their online presence before deciding to showcase the reviews on their website. So you can always see a hotel that is dedicated to improving their online presence, and it gives really fast results after analyzing, after taking prompt actions for improving the reputation. This very easily and very quickly shows on the widgets and on the reviews on the website. We have many successful examples of big hotel chains and groups. Our biggest client is Accor, with their thousands of properties, but also smaller hotel groups. For example, Dawat, the group hotel group there in Ireland, and they have implemented our widgets in 2015. And their goal was to show unbiased reviews, exactly, to show the truth, to be trustful, to gain the loyalty, to really show what is the real situation. And they saw it immediately increasing the conversion and in the bookings and, of course, the revenue. So this works because if we don't show to the guests the content that they are hungry to see, they're going to look for it elsewhere. And there is a big chance that they will be allured by other marketing efforts of the OTAs or different platforms, and they will go away from our website. So showing the right truthful content is crucial.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think if I would just could just add a point here to the question and to Sirma's answer, like in essence, if reviews stop to represent the truth, it kind of loses its whole sense of why it's there, right? So we should be protecting that and should be careful with that. But one interesting thing that we see with our customers, and we also work together with companies like TrustYou to collect feedback and improve the reviews and so forth, is that when you ask for what can make a big difference. For example, asking for feedback. I think still today, often when I travel myself, I get that after I've checked out. A consideration could be to ask for feedback while the guest is still in house, because that actually gives the sense that if I provide feedback, that the hotelier would still be able to turn things around if there's something, right? Or do something with that feedback. Mm-hmm. If then afterwards, after having gotten that feedback, and let's say in a case, because the question was if negative feedback is showcased, if it's negative, you can turn it around and would then ask for a review invite, chances are pretty likely that that will be a positive review. So in other words, if you do that in order, you get a much more representative set, and you kind of cut out the extremes, because we all know that just one extreme review can really break things, and that's a shame, because that can just be sometimes unfair as well, or just for a reason that can be explained and so forth. So yeah, when to ask for what can also make a big difference in terms of feedback and reviews.
Definitely. And sometimes we don't realize that bad reviews are also an opportunity to build that relationship, because you can, that's where you can take this step then, right? Like ask like, okay, but what happened? Like, how can I help you? And guests value that way more, because you are showing willingness to, okay, how can we amend you? How can we make it better, right? Thank you everyone for the comments. Let's move on to our way number 4 to use guest loyalty. And it's to leverage UCG and word of mouth. And what is UCG? Is user UGC, sorry, user-generated content. Basically, the content that your guest can be generated in social media, and how can you leverage that in word of mouth? And basically, here we see that just as reviews have become super popular, also has platforms like social media where you can see real content about guests, real content from guests and how their experience was. And a lot of people, before going even to read a review, they will go into TikTok, for example, and they will type the name of the hotel and see what video appears and what are the users saying. If the users are actually saying the same as the reviews, it was a great experience. Or if the users are criticizing and saying, no, this was not expected, it was bad, and so on. So it's one more thing to take into consideration. Are you using certain tools? Are you asking your guests to interact with you also in the social media world? One example that you can do this, it's so easy as inventing a hashtag that identifies your hotel. You can put the hashtag even in a sign in the room, maybe next to the Wi-Fi password or some recommendations. You can also put, please share your experience with the world using this hashtag, right? And that also helps, that is already helping guests to spread this virtual word of mouth through the user-generated content. And then you have the actual word of mouth, which is someone watching the pictures. They will ask their friend, what is this? How was this hotel? And because they have the picture there, they have the proof, they will go in to tell how was the experience. So you are already leveraging their network and their connections, which is friends and family and colleagues and more. Right? Everyone is a mini influencer. You don't necessarily need to partner with expensive people, expensive influencers. You can leverage the contacts and the primary circles of your own guests, but you need to actually do something about it. So how are you using the user-generated content and the word of mouth? That's also very powerful to boost your guest loyalty. And we go into number 5. 5 ways of using guest loyalty to boost your direct bookings. Now we are into the way number 5. And this is personalize each level of loyalty. And what does this mean? It means that it needs to be special for them to go back to the hotel. And personalization brings many opportunities. It's key to boost guest loyalty and to make them come back. But what are some of the practical ways that you can communicate with your guests? And then at Bookboost, we are experts at this, so you can tell us a little bit more of these practical things that people can use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to keep on talking about this because I'm very passionate about it, but I'll try to keep it short and give the others also still some opportunity to speak, because I see we're already coming towards the end of the webinar. But I would like to add one thing, because I do think we covered, or I actually already said some of the things in earlier answers. But I think one thing that might be something that also could be looked upon is to basically, and that's a different way of looking at things. But in addition to like what we talked about previously by acknowledging guests and providing excellent service and providing exclusive offers and so forth. Also, lowering customer effort is also actually a way to look at loyalty, because if you lower customer effort, which means that it's easy to book, it's easy to check in and so forth, that also has a positive impact on loyalty. And for example, if you have a central database and I travel to Hotel A, but then I travel to Hotel B the next month, and I'm asked again to fill in my credit card, my passport details, etc., etc., etc. I might be thinking that I've already filled that out for that brand, right? So if you can then already let the guest know that you've got that detail, but perhaps you need a few things for that specific stay, that is also a way of customizing the experience, which keeps customer loyalty low, which will make me more loyal to a brand. But there's a lot of examples, and I love talking about it, but I'll just leave it with that and to also give the others some opportunity.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. we have another question here actually about how do we do this personalization, right? So let's look at more into the data side. Fabricio, maybe you can walk us through this. So what is the role of the data analytics plays in creating a personalized loyalty program? And how can hotels use this data to anticipate and meet the needs of the loyal guests?
Thank you, Joanna. So data is absolutely vital for this. Data analytics is, I mean, this is absolutely out of question, right? But when I was thinking the answer to this question, and then I saw the replies to the poll, that's exactly what we were thinking about, basically. It's not just about giving, buy this tool, go to that tool. It's really about having a data strategy, basically. It's about defining first, where are you and where do you want to be? I think that's really where we should start, and some key considerations. No, think, for example, of the purpose of the data that you're going to be using and for what. No, and three words that I think are super important to take out of this question and for people to remember. I categorize data in two different ways, or data analytics in two different ways. There's descriptive data that just tells you what's something that happened, something that was in the past, the most basic type of data. There's predictive data, and there's prescriptive data, okay, which is the most powerful of all. Think of the doctor that is prescribing you a medicine, right? Now, how do we move from this primitive, more type of data to the most advanced type of data? Well, this is happening right now in front of us, and the key driver, the key changer of this is AI, which we haven't touch, only scratch on this webinar, that topic, but it's extremely important for this purpose. Then ask yourself how to prepare for the future, for handling all this data. No? And one question is, I'm working with the right partners. Or for example, is my data even secure? I think these questions are extremely, extremely important. Then define strategy, and out of that, out of a well-designed strategy and well-implemented strategy, there will be key outcomes. And those key outcomes will be these personalized experiences that can hopefully even touch that emotional, that human component of the hospitality. That is what eventually will create and will improve that long-term loyalty, which of course will also in return increase profits if well executed and well designed.
Exactly. And sometimes maybe the topic can seem a bit too wide when we start talking about different things. But the truth is that if you start by trying to understand the data that you have and start step by step implementing certain things, like, for example, maybe you're not asking reviews from your guests, then, okay, that can be one thing that you start to do, right? To work on your guest loyalty. Another thing, we have a customer that actually told us that they look at their data in order to create different campaigns for guests that are returning based on how many times they've come back to their hotel. So for example, if they have come back for a second time, they are received with a different content and with a different like greeting as if they come back a fourth time or a fifth time. So this is elevating the experience so much, because every time the guest goes back, it's like, okay, what am I going to receive now? What are they going to tell me now, right? And all of this is just by like looking at your data and having the right partners to actually create these campaigns and make sure that they go out in the right time and to the right guests. Right? So there are many things that you can start doing. It doesn't need to be so big, and it can help you to work on your guest loyalty. So we have come to the end of our webinar. We've reviewed 5 ways how you can use your guest loyalty to grow your direct bookings. And I want to thank all our panelists so much for stay with us during those 40 minutes and walking us through these questions, and to all our attendees. Thank you so much, and do not miss our next webinar with another topic important for hoteliers and hospitality in general. Thank you so much.